in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I am irrationally excited about a vehicle that's not even gonna do a burnout.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Ready for the setup?
Yes.
I bought a 1956 Ford F-100. It's a Y block, so at least it's a V8. I don't know if it's a 272 or a 292. It's a manual trans. I don't even know if it's a 3-speed or a 4-speed. And it's been sitting in this garage since roughly 1982 without running.
Oh, like Reagan-era levels of neglect.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh, I'm super pumped about it.
I love a challenge.
Yeah, the brakes I'm concerned about. But at least it's 12 volt. I was worried it was gonna be a 6.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Ready for my plan?
Yes.
Well, obviously we need to get it running and driving, and that could be a challenge. I'm counting on that happening in 2 days, because then we have 3 days to drive from here in Salt Lake all the way to Rapid City, South Dakota. For no reason other than it's a great drive and I want to be there. And at the end, I've got a buddy who has a collection of like 50 old junker cars that I'd like to check out. And more importantly, is willing to store the 56 F-100 until we can pick it up.
Ah, yet another reason to do that.
I'm ready.
It's May and it's snowing.
It's freezing.
It can only get better by going north. It's gotta be warmer, right?
Yeah. Ready to go check it out?
Yes.
Remember, I bought this sight unseen.
Oh, it's competition
Ready?
orange.
Yep.
Oh, this is
Nice.
sweet.
Oh, wow.
I like the wagon wheels, dude.
Oh, yeah, those are like Jackman's.
Those are great.
Yep. Look at the ancient, like, bias ply square profile
Super
tires.
cats. These are cool.
I love those.
It's got windows and a gun rack. This is awesome. All kinds of character, man. I even like the stance. The tires are probably gonna kill us, but the wheels are great.
I didn't realize it has a cowl vent. That's cool.
Oh, factory air, huh?
Yep. This thing is mint. I think the original color was light blue. The guy painted it in his high school auto shop.
Look at the jam is black.
Look how it's got the 70s Cal custom door handles on it, and also the button tough panels. Oh, there's one on the tailgate too. Look at that. How 70s is that? An upholstered tailgate.
I've never seen that before. This thing's great.
Thanks. That's the original bedwood.
Wow.
I wasn't sure if you were gonna dig it or not.
Oh, I love it. It's great. I love trucks, just in general.
Yeah.
This thing, oh, look at the shifter.
I know. I don't know if it's a 3-speed or 4-speed.
This is really nice.
What
Oh,
are we
there's your
in
light
for?
blue.
Yeah, one of my favorite colors painted over one of my least favorite colors.
You have an Awuga horn.
Yep. You know, every project car becomes much better when there's a good story behind it. So let me tell you the story. To me, a 56 Ford F-100 is like the 55 Chevy of 50s Ford trucks. It's the best one. It's got the wraparound window, the best grille. I just think that they're super cool. When I was a little kid and collected magazines and tore the pages out and taped them on the wall, there was one F-100 that I had on there, and I'll always remember the thing, and it was 70s style, just like this. The other part of it is the story about how this guy has come to own this truck. It was his first car. I think he got it around 1978. He was 15 years old. He painted it in high school auto shop. Thing is, it ended up sitting right here since roughly 1982 or something like that. So this is like a real garage find. It's really unmolested, and that makes it cool. One of my mentors in the whole magazine world when I was the editor of magazines like Hot Rod was Pat Ganal. His truck that he used all the time, that I saw everywhere, even before I worked at the magazines, was a 1956 Ford F-100. And then there's the last part of the story, which is that. Any of you ever have that Hot Wheels from 1973? Check out the 56 F-100 Hot Wheels with mini bikes in the back. So there you go. And now we gotta tear into it and find out if we can actually make it run and drive.
This thing, the battery's under the passenger side floor. So we'll put a battery in it, and then we can see if we can make the motor crank over.
Finnegan, I've got facts. Ready? It's a 4-speed, which we confirmed. It has 392 gears, and it has 143 horsepower.
How do you know all this?
It's on the door jamb.
Oh,
Headlights on.
no, they're not.
Sometimes you gotta get the corrosion off of there.
Oh, you got one.
How about when I click the dimmer switch 100 times?
Negative. Let me go to the back of the truck. Your left rear is lit up.
It is right now?
Yeah. So earlier I threw a battery in this thing, and in my haste to hear the engine run, I ignored the fact that the negative cable was pretty well shot on this deal. If you look at it, it's frayed only half the things in the car work. Like we have one taillight, no turn signals. It sounds a lot like a ground problem. So I'm gonna cut the cable shorter and then we'll put the cable back together and then we will try to crank the motor over. Battery's fixed, try them. Oh, there you go.
It worked?
They're on now, yeah.
Yes!
We've got, one's a little dimmer than the other one, but they are both on.
Cool. And whoosh. Oil's coming out. Once that all drains really well, I'm gonna put some new oil in and then we'll test fire it. I think it's gonna run. So this is a oil bath air cleaner that thankfully has no oil actually in it.
I have no idea how that thing works.
Oh, really? Air comes in here. This shape forces it down.
Okay.
And then there's oil in there. And then the air has to change directions to come up in the carburetor. And so dust is like a heavier particle.
Oh, trapped in the oil.
And so the momentum of the dust continues it down into the oil where it gets caught. But then the clean air goes up into the carburetor.
What happens when you like jump the truck and it lands real hard and the oil comes up?
That's the problem.
Oh.
Yeah.
Horn works.
Here's what we know right now. First of all, this is a 272 cubic inch Y block, not a 292. We also know that the seller and a neighbor pulled the plugs out of it and put oil in all the cylinders and actually turned it over before we even got here. And so the engine rotates, it's not seized. You want to crank it a little bit first, then I'll starting fluid it?
Okay.
Let's see if the cranking works. Wow.
Oh.
It runs. It's gonna run.
It wants to go.
Yep.
Hey.
That's on fire. Stop. Man, that's a good fire.
Well, you won't be cold anymore.
Don't worry, it's only north face. Man, that does not want to go out. Where's the fire extinguisher? Oh, I know what. The oil in there is burning off. Okay.
It wants to go. Good news. Sounds like the Y block actually wants to run. But I think what we're gonna do is try to make the brakes work. Master cylinder's under the floor. That always makes doing this fun.
Well, it looks like the master cylinder for the brakes is not moving any fluid at all. Fortunately, it's not my first barbecue, and I foresaw that, and so I'm gonna be installing this new one. So this is kind of an unusual master cylinder for most of you because this fitting on the end takes a brass fitting that all of the hard lines come out of. And then, of course, it just has this weird lid on it, like a 50s car. And over here is the clevis that the pedal goes through from under the floor. All right, master cylinder is so installed that Finnegan is pouring fluid into it.
The piston moves in this one. I can see bubbles coming out.
Because we're too lazy to put it back on the ground and we need to remove the tires to bleed the brakes, we're trying to wedge this piece of concrete under there, and we've got to the very last nut. It has become one with the stud. There we go, finally.
So after Freiburger replaced the master cylinder, we decided, well, if the master cylinder was junk, the wheel cylinders are probably gonna blow out on this thing the first time we go around the block. And because it's four-wheel drum brakes and the master cylinder only has a single reservoir, if you blow out one, the whole system goes flat, then you have no brakes. We decided we're going to replace all four wheel cylinders in these drum brakes. That's in pretty good shape.
We're doing the right thing and changing the wheel cylinders. Thing is, you would think that you wouldn't be able to find an obscure 56 F-100 wheel cylinder, even in Salt Lake. But then, we hit AutoZone and we did have to order it, but we did get the Duralast wheel cylinders and brake hoses. Life saved. All right, let me throw this together. Okay.
Well, that spring's broken. Here's another one that looks similar-ish, however, has the tensile strength of a garage door spring. And I cannot get this from here to here. It just ain't happening. Not even with correct tools, not happening. And look, this is approximately the same length, but more importantly, the thickness of the spring is really close, which means I might have a chance of actually stretching this from here to here. And believe it or not, this is from a 65 Ford Mustang, so why wouldn't it work on a 56 Ford F-100? Woohoo! Fixed. We got problems. It's got the stupid spring on it, and the spring is pushed up against the nut.
Yeah.
So when you turn the nut, it's trying to turn the spring and the line.
Is it already broken or twisted?
No, it's trying to twist.
I'm really good at loosening those.
All right, I'll leave it for you.
That'll work.
Ooh, that was rusty. This is a different diameter, these back ones.
I guess we use them anyway. I just wrapped up the entire front suspension, or front brakes, I should say, and wheel bearings. They're all lubed and stuff. Finnegan is working on the rear brakes. I'm gonna move on to the important work and polish my grille. Rust coming through. We got all of the brakes rebuilt and fixed and all the lines going, and now we bleed.
It's gone down a little bit. I was getting bubbles, but now I'm not.
All right, go.
Here we go.
Yeah, I hear it bubble when it comes back up.
Oh, now we're getting dirt coming back in. Little bit of black cloud coming in.
Well, this rear hose could be clogged.
We are now attempting to bleed the brakes.
Oh, here it goes, good.
This is kind of fun because the master cylinder is under the floor. So as I work the pedal, I can actually see the fluid move.
Down,
Down,
up.
up.
The brakes work, which is a big moment, and I'm afraid that we're not gonna be able to drive too far on these cool old tires. Man, I wish we could. I wanna keep them forever. We're at least gonna see if they'll hold air long enough to get to the tire store. These wheels look to me like they might be Jackmans, which were the really popular off-road wheels back in the day. Just simple white spokes. Here's something special. I was told to open this newspaper, the Birmingham High Prospector from November of 1979. And there it is, the car of the month. His 56 Ford truck was chosen as Prospector Vehicle of the Month. Used to be an old blue hay truck until he painted it in 1976. It's Mac Orange. Brian's truck still has the original 292 engine. We thought it was a 272, and he says it runs very well. He says, I hope to never sell my truck. He sold it. Okay, I want to look at the fuel line, see how mangled it is or death-inducing. It's hard line. This is good. I always want to inspect the fuel lines on old stuff that's been sitting, and fortunately this thing is steel hard-lined the whole way with the exception of one connector at the tank that's in good shape, and up here that goes from the hard line to the fuel pump, but it doesn't have a filter in it, so I'm going to replace that rock-hard piece of line.
Filling the empty differential. Well, it's a good thing we checked. There's nothing in it.
Badness just happened. He poured coolant in it, and we're leaking from a couple different places. We don't know where yet, but none of them are good. I see stuff dripping down the front cover from here, but that's a leftover from the hose that you clamped. Oh no, the hose that you clamped is still dripping.
The radiator hose is leaking.
The radiator hose is leaking, yep. This is definitely a tomorrow problem.
Yeah.
What we decided to do is make it run a little bit more. Remember earlier in the episode, we got the thing to just sort of, bruh, and then it was a big fire. Well, we're planning on making a bigger fire. And we're gonna see if we can actually get it running completely, smoothly, taking throttle and all of that stuff. Because if that doesn't work and it rod knocks, then we don't have to find the coolant leak. Let's go for some gas. All right, Mike, fire it up.
Come on, baby. Oh.
Even if the carburetor is a mess, it should run better than that on that much gasoline.
Yeah, it does seem like when I let go of the key, it shuts off.
It does. It's exactly what it seems like.
Yeah.
So what we're noticing here is that as soon as he turns off the key, it stops running. And sometimes what that can be is like a ballast resistor that's in line, and it drops voltage to the coil while it's running, because they want to run on like 9 volts or something like that, but it gives full voltage while cranking. And so if there's a problem with that system one way or another, then it'll shut off the ignition after you let go of the key. I can just hot wire the coil. It'll take a long wire because the battery's under the body.
You could go from the generator, maybe.
Maybe. Next attempt, I'm gonna gas it, and then I'm going to just manually jump to the positive side of the coil so that it has ignition all the time, and we'll see if that lets it run longer. Go for it.
Okay.
Nope.
As soon as I let go, it shut off.
Yeah. Okay, so this isn't it. Let me choke it a little bit. Try it.
Okay, here we go. Ooh, that was the best one yet.
Ah, there's no power here. How is that possible?
What about when I turn the ignition on?
No. How is there no power to that side of the starter relay? What is going on? Go for it.
Okay.
Nope.
As soon as I let go, it shut off.
Yeah. Seems like it starts to run, and as soon as he lets go of the key, it stops. In a points ignition system, there's typically a ballast resistor that cuts voltage to the coil so it doesn't overheat when it's running, but it's bypassed when cranking in order to have full voltage and the hottest spark to get the thing running when it's cold. So I troubleshot that with my handy dandy voltmeter. Sure enough, it seemed to have that difficulty. So what I'm gonna do is just bypass the entire garbage and hot wire the coil directly to this side of the starter relay that goes right to the starter, and we'll see if it runs longer. Fired up.
Hey!
So that was definitely the ignition problem. Still doesn't run great.
Maybe it's just really cold, or...
Yeah, I think valves are stuck. All right, what's our next move?
The entire front of the engine is leaking.
Yeah, there's that.
2 tires that won't hold air. And a motor that doesn't want to run properly.
Yep,
Beers?
fair. I still say if we can't get the engine running properly, then we don't need to fix the leak.
So not beers is what you're saying.
It's running, but really poorly, so I think what we're gonna do is jump ahead and install a new carburetor. It'd be more heroic to rebuild that one, but time. And we're also gonna install a fuel pump so it's actually picking up gas and I don't have to pour it anymore. And then we can troubleshoot it, and I think what we're gonna end up doing is pulling the valve covers off and finding stuck valves and tapping on them to fix it. It's so cute. This is a Holley 94 2-barrel. Look at the holes in it. Says right here that they are 1 1/16 inch throttle bores. Carburetor going on. Aha. Cool.
Whoa.
Any badness?
Oh, there's no oil up here.
That's not shocking.
Some of these are not centered over the tip of the valve, and they look like they're resting on the retainer. It is adjustable shaft rockers from the factory.
We have our little helper in the cab. He's gonna crank this thing over for us, and we're gonna look at the valves and see if any of them are stuck and won't come up all the way. Totally happy.
Yeah, these all move.
Yep. You know what a Y-block is famous for? Is clogging the oil hole that feeds the top end. Actually, you wanna know why it's called a Y-block? It's because it has a deep skirt engine design, kind of like an FE or a 440 Chrysler, where the skirt comes down much lower than the crankshaft. So when you look at it from the front, it looks like a Y. Now you know. Yeah, that's a problem. We don't have any oil to the top end. We've got both valve covers off and we've spun the engine over. We expected some stuck valves. We didn't get that. They're all moving up and down happily. The bigger problem is we don't have any oil to the top end, so we're gonna have to figure that out. We're trying to make the fuel pump pump fuel, which means Mike just removed the old one that has the cool glass bottom. We got a new one. It's got fittings in a little bit of a different location, but I think they're gonna be gooder. So we're set. Hit it. Yes, it does. All right, that's enough victory for the night. We're out of here. We haven't really solved the problem with oil at the top end, but we want to get it running, assuming that that will actually pump it. Next step in making it run for real is spark plugs.
So I've removed what I believe to be the #1 wire from the distributor. I'm gonna put one probe in the end of it, and then I've got the other probe at the other end that attached to the spark plug. And bingo, we have continuity, which means I now know that I can just bypass all this mess and hook a plug wire from our new spark plug right here to that terminal. And once we've established that, Dave can go firing order and just keep going.
3 is your side, and then 7 is my side. Now we're starting on fixing the radiator. The bung that holds the cap was cracked and loose, and so I took the MAP gas and melted the solder out of it and popped it off, and we're cleaning it up. And even though I don't have really the right solder, I'm gonna attempt to reattach the thing. This is our last best chance to make the Y-block run smoothly. New spark plug wires, new spark plugs, new carburetor, fuel pump that actually pumps, and little helper ready to crank the keys so that Mike can watch the fire.
Oh, come on, girl. Keep going.
Yes! Wow! Wow!
And you know what? It's not leaking anymore. You know why? It already leaked everything out.
Whoa! I did not think that was gonna happen. I thought it was gonna run, but really badly. All the stuff in the radiator got pulled out and into my eyes. All the good stuff.
You know what this means? We are premium parts changers, you know?
Yes. We still have a major problem, and that is that the coolant will not stay in the engine. It pours onto the ground.
Let's try K-Seal now that it runs.
We don't want to mess up these people's driveways, so our plan is to roll the thing out while dragging this tarp with us to make sure it's not dripping, and K-seal it to see if that fixes the huge leak. We got the valve covers off because this thing isn't getting oil to the rocker arms. And so we're gonna be eyeballing that to see if that problem will self-solve as the thing runs for a moment. Go for it.
Here we go.
It's gonna run. Well, that's a showstopper. We have no oil to the top end at all.
Oh, wait. I got some.
Looks like we got it on the driver's side, nothing on the passenger side.
I got a pretty good fuel leak over here, too.
I don't feel great about this. The fuel pump was gushing gasoline out onto the ground, and it looks like one of the fittings that came with it is barely threaded, like it wasn't tapped deep enough. So Finnegan's over Tefloning it and ramrodding it together in hopes that it won't leak again.
Here we go. Come on, baby.
Let me triple check that fuel leak. Fixed.
All right.
It's starting to deliver oil.
Nice. I think this is gonna work, dude.
This may actually happen. The oil is starting to feed from the back towards the front on this side, and Mike's side is great. So I think we're actually gonna figure out how to put valve cover gaskets on this pooch.
Okay.
It's so fun.
I don't know about you, but if you ignore the flat tires and the coolant hitting the ground, that sounds like success to me.
Yeah.
40 years to get from there to here.
Yep.
Not bad.
Record distance for us on a first drive.
Not bad.
That's a lot of top end clatter. We got a ton of leaks. It's pouring out. The aftermarket fuel pump is doo-doo. It's leaking everywhere and we can't make it stop. We're gonna fix the fuel leak and pour in more K-Seal.
Oh, God. It looks like vomit. Well, I know what you're thinking. These are not nearly as cool as what was on it. But these are round and they hold air. and they're good enough to get us to the tire store where we'll get freshies on rolled wagon wheels.
We mean it this time. We're leaving. We're gonna tie together the wires on the electric fuel pump. We're gonna tie together the wires on the ignition, and we're gonna drive out of here and hope that the coolant leak cures itself.
I have all the faith in the world in Orange Folius. Let's go.
We're going to the tire shop.
This is really happening.
I know.
There we go.
Fired right up.
Yeah. There we go.
Ready to find out if the clutch and transgression work?
I thought you were gonna go straight to burnout. Oh, it's moving! It's moving! Oh, I got a granny gear?
Yeah.
Nice. That's 2. How are the brakes?
So far, so good. Whoa.
Oh, that put me through the windshield. You're not
Nice.
careful. Oh, I have to hold on to the gun rack here. All right. It actually sounds great.
It does. And I took off in second gear.
First gear is pretty much just for towing, I suppose.
Dude, the tack works.
What?
Yeah.
Is that third gear?
This is third.
Whoa.
Fourth gear.
It's official.